What is up, YouTube? La Via Satellite here, and today we are discussing Kingdom. Now, the women of Kingdom are often overlooked because, unlike these women from other anime and manga, the women in Kingdom are kinda conservative. Except for the occasional outburst from the usual suspects, as we all know, the women of Kingdom leave a lot to the imagination. I mean, these women dress in layers of clothing, but do not let that fool you. And do not underestimate their beauty. So today we are going to show some love to the women of Kingdom, and we're going to show you that the beauty of these women can make some men not even think straight, to the point that they literally lose their heads. So today we will be discussing 5 times dudes thought with the wrong head, and it got them killed.
He doesn't like her.
He's probably thinking with the head of his wiener instead of the head of his brain.
Oh God, Andy, come on.
Alright guys, so at number 5 we have Kaku. And this one is interesting because this one takes place at the Battle of Kokyo Hills. This is where we first start to meet some of Kanki's army and get a better grasp of who these people are. And one of his commanders is Kaku, and she has a very interesting personality. And when we first start to see her get into action this arc, we first see that people are requesting backup from her. And the first guy who requests backup is an old guy in her army, and he's like saying that if he doesn't get the backup that he needs, he's gonna have to pull out. She then tells one of her subordinates to send him some archers, and also to tell him that if he doesn't stop whining, that she'll personally come over there and basically kick his ass. Then there's another situation where this pretty boy is requesting backup, and she says to send him 100 troops. So some of the guys in her army actually noticed how she was showing favoritism toward the pretty boy, and how she's always been harsher on ugly people. So I thought this part was just freaking hilarious, man. I thought her personality was too funny. And yeah, so they're basically tearing through the Zhao army at this point. But then Kishui shows up. And just by Kishui being able to show up and speak a few words, he's able to boost the morale of his men and go on the offensive. So Kokuo can kind of tell that the tides have turned, so she calls on her defensive specialist, Kaku, to come out here and stop this offensive surge. So Kaku is just so excited. He is foaming at the mouth for this opportunity because he believes that with his defensive prowess, he will not only be able to stop the Zhao army, but also be known as the hero for today's battle. And not only this, but that because of his defensive skills and capabilities, that Kokuo is going to be so impressed that she'll have no other choice but to visit his tent later that night to reward him for a job well done. I mean, this guy is literally in fairy tale land. He's like all smiling to himself and everything, and he is so preoccupied with the thoughts of Kokuo visiting his tent later that night that he does not even notice Kishui descending the cliffs directly to his left, hitting him with a surprise attack. And at this point, it's too late to get his men into the proper formations. So instead of grasping the situations at hand and getting his men into the right formations, he was too busy thinking about all the formations he wanted to have Kokuo in later that night. And that was a fatal mistake. And I mean, when you see Kishui's eyes lock on his, it's almost like he knew exactly what he was thinking. And he said to him, "Nope, sorry buddy, not tonight."
Off with his head!
Yeah, so after this, even Kokuo said he screwed up. And it's a shame because the only people who visited his tent that night were remnants of his own 1,000-man squad rummaging through his things and calling first dibs on any cool stuff they could find. So at number 4, we have the dynamic duo of Amon and Kosho. Now these two guys took on the impossible task of trying to smuggle Ase out of Zhao. Because at the time, Ase was a political hostage of Zhao, and it was imperative to get him back to Quinn as King Sho had just died. And there were multiple reasons why they had initially turned this gig down. One, they knew that the King of Zhao would want to assassinate Sei as soon as he heard the news. 2, they knew that once Ase was found missing, that all the checkpoints leaving Zhao would be closed down. And 3, that if they were found with Sei, they'd be condemned as traitors of the state and tortured and executed. And the 4th reason they really shouldn't have done it was because at the time, Ase was batshit crazy. But after she could spend some quality time with Sei, she has a change of heart, and she convinces Amon and Kosho to go along with the plan. Of course, they could not say no to her beautiful eyes, and they accepted the gig. Things went good for the most part, except for a few minor hiccups from Sei, but Sheikah isn't a black market smuggler for nothing. She pretty much gets the job done. I mean, I haven't seen anybody smuggle this good since I seen Boa get Luffy in the Impel Down, and just for sheer style points alone, she's still number 1 for that. But shortly after clearing the last checkpoint, the Zhao figured things out, and they send out their cavalry, which is #1 in China for chasing. I didn't even know that was like a stat, but yeah, they send their cavalry after Sheikah and her crew. So soon after that, behind them, they start to notice dust clouds. So now they know that the Zhao have caught up, and they prepare their weapons to fight. Kosho then says to Amon, "Do you remember the promise we made as kids?" Amon says like he could ever forget that, and that the promise is basically that amongst the three of them, Sheikah will be the last one to die. And Amon also says his only regret is that the two of them never told Sheikah how they really felt about her. And then Kosho's like, yeah, about that, I kinda did tell her back in the day that I wanted to marry her. And Amon's like, what? He couldn't believe it. But it's all fair in love and war, and Kosho proves this because he was trying to push up on the low. Soon after this, a second cavalry appear on the cliffs above and go straight after Sheikah. Amon cuts him off and sacrifices himself. And as he's on his way out, he turns and looks at Sheikah and says, "Sheikah, take care." But shortly after Amon went out, it's Kosho's turn. Kosho basically gets lit up with a bunch of arrows, and he says, looks like I'm not going to be going out as stylish as Amon did. But to be honest with you, he kind of goes out a little more stylish because he winds up saying he had a good run of a life for one that was just picked up off the ground, since all the way up to the very end, he was able to spend it with the woman he loved. And as he's turning about, he tells her to keep on living, even if it's just for a few seconds more, that she has to stay alive. Then he goes in to charge the Zhao cavalry. And that was Amon and Kosho. And unfortunately, these two gentlemen were lifetime members of the friend zone and were unable to escape. And even though they were unsuccessful at attaining the ultimate prize of Sheikah, they were successful in a major way in helping Ace get to Quinn. And for that, we salute you. Alright, so at #3, guys, we have Tyro G. And Tyro G is actually one of the 7 fire dragons of Wei. And his story really begins with Earl Shi. Earl Shi is basically dating his sister, Shikika. But we're going to stop right there because even though they're dating, neither one of them had the same mother and father. They were just brought together by marriage. So there's no blood relation between the two. You can almost think of this like if Jan Brady and Greg Brady hooked up. Oh yeah, they did.
I gotta go.
So anyway, everybody kind of frowns down upon it, and we get to a scene where, Tyro G is questioning her. And Tyro G says, like, look, my reputation precedes me, because he's not just known as one of the fire dragons. He's actually known as, like, the wife killer. And he goes on to tell her that he's actually already killed, like, 19 to 20 women already. But they weren't actual wives. They were women who were unworthy of being wives. So I'm thinking that this guy was just terrible with women all around. I mean, like, anytime he had a date, it would probably be awkward.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
I love tits in my face.
Anytime he finally got a girlfriend, he probably screwed that up. Like, I can see him in the kitchen asking her, like, "Hey babe, what are we having for dinner tonight?" She's like, nothing, we're gonna have some chicken.
Disappointed!
And I get to see him slicing her. Then he's like, damn it, I gotta get another one. So I can just see that this dude was going through women left and right. I mean, because I'm thinking when I first read this story, like, this guy's a fire dragon. Why is he having trouble getting women? But his bad reputation with women probably spread so far that if he came walking through a town, all the women probably, like, cleared out. Because they're like, nah, we know how this guy does. We're not trying to even be in the vicinity, But, yeah, he winds up in front of Shikika. Maybe she thought she was safe because, her brother/boyfriend's a fire dragon. So, yeah, he goes on to tell her, like, look, listen, I'm willing to let this slide because your brother's a member of the fire dragons. But there's one condition. You have to let go of all your love for your brother and never ever think of loving him again. And lastly, you have to be my woman and let me hit it from now on. It's only fair. She's like, no, I still love my brother.
Disappointed!
So then he kills her. So that little incident did not sit well with Earl She. And as you all know, he then goes on to kill Tyro G along with 2 other members of the Fire Dragons, and then winds up being locked up for his crimes. And he wasn't able to free himself from this world to be back with his sister until Ohan was able to release him into another world. So that was Tyro G, and his treatment of women would have made Ike Turner appear to be a saint. And that's setting the bar pretty low.
You're watching Ike Turner Classic Movies.
Why don't you come up and see me sometime?
What the hell did you just say?
Okay, so at number 2, we have Hokaku, and his story begins during the Sekio Rebellion arc. So at this point, Sekio's faction was starting to become large, and he was actually teamed up with Ase, and they were actually working together to build a larger faction to compete against Ryofui. And they were actually closing the gap. But being that Ryofui is who Ryofui is, he already had set a plan in motion to where he could actually break these brothers apart. But before all that, we get Rui, who's actually going to visit her grandmother in Tunryu for her birthday. So here we actually get to see the bond between Rui and Sekio. And you can tell he has a little bit of a soft spot for her. And the reason being is later on we find out that she was one of the only people who stuck by his side when he was locked away. So later on we find out that the Zhao are attacking that area of Quinn, and they already had taken 2 cities and they were on their way toward Tunryu. Since all the other major generals are busy with other duties, Ryofui suggests that Ase be the one to lead the armies into battle. Everybody thinks he's plotting something, so Sekio decides that he'll be the one to go. So he goes and takes an army with him to go defeat the Zhao. In the meanwhile, Hokaku's in Tunryu, and you can just tell he's suspicious, man. They find out that the Zhao's coming. Rui's trying to spend some time with her grandmother. Hokaku's always hanging about. Matter of fact, at one point Rui asks him to leave, and instead of leaving, he's pretty much standing outside the door, spying on what's going on. So you knew he was already creepy, and you knew he was already up to something, but what sealed the deal to his mischievous ways? So we got this scene.
My anaconda don't, my anaconda don't, my anaconda don't want none unless you got buns, hun.
So at this moment, you knew at the very least he was plotting on Rui. So Kaku was definitely trying to check her out on the low, and this is a dangerous move that should only be performed by experts. Shortly after, we find out that he's involved in the plot, because when Sekio gets there with his army, they make quick work of the Zhao. They pull out real fast, and as he goes into Tunryu, he's looking for his wife. This is where we find out that everything's a setup. Sekio is now imprisoned. His wife's in prison. And the reason being is that Hokaku and Ryofui have a plan to eliminate Sekio. They plan on starting a rebellion in Sekio's name, fight against the Quinn army, and when that all plays out, Hokaku is to deliver Sekio's head to the subjugation army and look like a hero. And Hokaku is so bold that he actually tells this entire plan to Sekio. And he also lets him know what his reward will be. And his reward is not only the city of Tunryu, but he will also be getting Sekio's wife, because having a child with her would strengthen his claim on Tunryu. And then he actually says the thirstiest line in all of Kingdom, and I quote, "Plus, just thinking about what a hottie Rui is, frankly, it's enough to give me a rise on the spot." Damn, Hokaku, tell him how you really feel. So later on, Sekio is actually able to escape by bribing the guards, and then he actually goes and rescues Rui. But on the way, he did get injured really bad. So as they're trying to escape together, Sekio lets Rui know that he just can't go on anymore. His injuries are too severe. And he tells her to just go on ahead and get help. So after some time, she eventually goes on ahead. And soon after that, Hokaku actually catches up to Sekio. Hokaku is hell-bent on taking Sekio's head, but at the same time, he's insistent at taunting Sekio about Rui. And he goes on a little rant about winners and losers, and that how by winning this battle, he will become a winner, and he will take Rui from Sekio and have his way with her. Now this was a crucial mistake by Hokaku, because not only is the thought of Rui enough to give him a rise, but the thought of him touching Rui is enough to make Sekio rise to the occasion as well. And on this occasion, it got Sekio so pissed off that he actually forgot about the fact that he was unable to walk just a few minutes ago, to now where he is able to do a full Ninja Gaiden wall scroll over to Hokaku to take his head. So not only does Sekio defend his woman's honor, but he sends Hokaku to the grave with ambitions unfulfilled and a thirst unquenched. So at number 1, guys, we have the Mountain Tribe. Now, guys, this was the hardest one to come up with because, you know, I can't lie to you guys, I'm kind of biased. In my mind, Yotanwa should be at the top of any list that involves female characters in Kingdom. That's just how I feel about it. But saying that, I also have to say, the way that the Mountain Tribe see Yotanwa and fight for Yotanwa, and, you know, the fact that they're all pretty much going to sleep with Yotanwa is the reason I even came up with this video in the first place. So how could I not? How could I not have Yotanwa and the Mountain Tribe at number 1? But the problem was I had no one specific that had died for Yotanwa. Yes, we had many different Mountain Tribe members die in battle. We've seen them get sliced in half, we've seen them have arrows hit them, we've seen them getting their heads chopped off with glaives, we've seen all types of things. But we've never had a specific member, and specifically we've never had a tribe leader. Because as the King of Figo lets us know, that Yotanwa conquered a lot of these tribes, and most of these people would have fought to their deaths. But because of the type of leader that Yotanwa is, they've decided to join her and go into battle with her. But there's also a secondary reason. These tribe leaders think that if they can rack up enough achievements and impress Yotanwa enough, there is the possibility that she may actually sleep with them. And there are no limits to what a man will do to impress a woman to sleep with her. In fact, they're willing to put their lives on the line.
Oh my god. How's the breeze? Oh my god!
So since I couldn't find any specific names of any tribe leaders who died for Yotanwa, I decided to take a whole tribe that seems to have died for Yotanwa and assume that a tribe leader was with them. And this tribe is the Hiba tribe. Now at the beginning of the Battle of Retsubi, Ten says that the only reason that the Zao actually sent troops out was because even though they're having a defensive siege, they wanted to show that they're not afraid to have men out there, and it actually boosts the morale of the rest of their army. But not soon after, Yotanwa steps out herself to show these Zao troops what a war cry really is. Then she tells her men to bathe these lands in blood and has her men start to charge. Shin actually points out that there's some fast ones pulling ahead, and those fast ones were the Hiba tribe. And the Hiba tribe are so fast that they can outrun the arrows coming from Retsubi. So as the Hiba tribe was rushing in, the gates were actually open. So the Hiba tribe was so fast that they not only outran the Zao arrows, but they were closing in so fast on the Zao troops trying to return back into the gates of Retsubi. They were about to catch up and actually enter the city. And if they could have entered the city, then they would have been able to open the gates. If they opened the gates, what type of achievement is that? That would have been a major achievement. So you can see why the leader of the Hiba tribe would have wanted to get this gate open. If he could have got that gate open, that would have been a tremendous achievement. He would have basically single-handedly been the reason for Retsubi's fall. He needed this achievement, so he goes all out. But guess what? The Zao soldiers in Retsubi decide they're going to lower the gate. They will abandon the rest of those men out there because they can't afford to let these horsemen in. So they drop the gate and leave the men to get murdered basically by the Hiba tribe. But now the Hiba tribe is in a bad position because the gate's closed. You see them actually going up to the gate, trying to lift it with their bare hands because, you know, Yotanwa was worth it. But no sooner does this happen than we see the arrows start coming down upon them. And Tajifu even says that wasn't going to work. And then in the next panel, we actually see Ten complaining that they're all about to die, and it actually looks like one of the Hiba tribe is actually saying Yotanwa. And this could have been the leader of the tribe giving out his one last cry to his failed dreams. And then we get a couple of the other tribe leaders actually standing by Yotanwa, saying, already we have claimed the lives of our enemies, and we have witnessed the Hiba's courage on this day. Now that we have a clearer picture about how the Mountain Tribe guys think, I'm going to actually translate these last words. And basically, all they're saying is, yes, one less tribe to compete with. So unfortunately for the Hiba tribe, they were unable to step up their game to the Yotanwa level. And when you can't step your game up to your girl's level, embarrassing things can happen.
slipped. Come on, ball up.
So anyway, guys, that's my video for this week. Let me know what you guys thought in the comment section below. And I know there's probably at least one person out there wondering, why didn't Roi make the list? Well, to me, Roi didn't qualify because him and the Queen Mother had more of an emotional / psychological relationship going on. And he had been smashing it for years. So at this point, I don't really think it was about that. But let me know what you guys think. If you disagree, in the comment section below. Leave a like if you liked the video. And don't forget to share and subscribe if you guys like the content. Peace out.